Family, welcome back to another episode of the Fearless Footballers podcast. I just want to come off the bat and say I apologize for the previous episode's upload, as for some reason I thought I had uploaded it and scheduled it for a Friday drop, and I've just checked and it's not there. So I apologize for that. And also this one I'm recording right now is a little bit late. We had a football camp over the weekend and didn't have the time to record, which I usually would on a Saturday. So I do apologize for that. But we want to get into today's episode. So basically, all the episodes until now are kind of little specific moments in time that have led me up to where I am today. I wanted to start from the beginning with the podcast and progress on through the years in different situations, different moments, sort of just going back on all the years that I have played and going through the ranks and exactly what I just said before and getting to where I am today. So now I want to continue to dive into different topics. I want to bring on guests. I've got a few guests that I have messaged and I'm looking forward to getting on the podcast, hopefully, if we can sort out a time and everything that suits us both. If you have any guest suggestions or ideas, please send them through. I'll probably pop it up on the Fearless Footballer Instagram page, but I might clip this up as well. And for anyone on TikTok that wants to see an AFL footballer, a different type of athlete that you think you'd get value from, please let me know. Drop it in the comments. Let me know which footballer you would like to see, or athlete for that matter of fact, would like to see on the Fearless Footballer podcast. I definitely have an idea in mind, and I want to try and keep the guests young. I want to around my sort of age, maybe a couple years older, but I want to try and keep it relatable for the youth coming through, and the impact that I think between 18 to 25 year olds can have on the youth is really massive, and it's good to share and relate to the young players that probably haven't quite made it to superstar level yet, but can go on and potentially be those kind of superstar players, and the players like your Rory Sloanes, Travis Boaks, Ollie Wines, Christian Prochaka, all those type of players that are superstars of the game now. I want to get them before they become superstars, and then we can sort of look back and see where they started, how they got there, and their journey so far. So that's the kind of idea that I've got in my head, but if you have any recommendations, please let me know. Now to get into the podcast topic today. A lot of these topics I would have briefly spoken about on my Instagram, but I'm glad I've got this platform now that I can share a lot more in detail with everyone on what I am talking about. And the topic that I have today is the young athletes coming through don't realize how much work they have to put in to be able to get to the top level. And that's investment of time, energy, money, sacrifice a little bit there as well. And I don't think you realize how hard it is to make the AFL. And a lot of young kids, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds have the dream of being a professional athlete. And that doesn't have to be a footballer. It's also maybe a soccer player, rugby, basketball, whatever, tennis, golf, whatever it is. There's a lot of effort, sacrifice that you need to make at a really young age to reap the rewards later on in life. And for me, looking back, I was definitely one of the hardest workers around when I was coming through the ranks, and it's something that I prided myself on was my discipline and my hard work. But looking back now, there's so many different things that I could have done that would have propelled my career forward. And obviously that's hindsight, but that's why I feel like I'm here today, is to share with you what I've done in the past, but also what I think I could have done more of, so that you guys can hopefully take action on that and then be a much better footballer than what I was, what the AFL players are now. So that's sort of the aim and the idea of this. My biggest recommendation for those young kids coming through that want to make the AFL and are genuinely serious about trying to make it to the top level, if that's AFL, if that's SNFL, if that's club level, whatever it is, if you want to be the best version of yourself, be the best player, that you can be, I would express that to your parents straight away and say, hey guys, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to get you. I need your support along the way. It's not going to be easy. I can't do it alone. And just ask for their support and their guidance. That right there is going to give them the message that yes, you are serious, and they're going to invest their time and energy and money into you, because at the end of the day, you need them for their resources. Like, that sounds quite selfish coming out my mouth now, but you're young, like 12, 13, 14-year-olds. You're relying on your parents. You can't really do much by yourself, and you do need their support, their time, their money to be able to have the opportunity to play at the top level. And that's something that I was really lucky with, that I had those resources around me and still do, to be able to be the best version of myself. And I know that not everyone is lucky enough to have that, which is why I think it's important to express to your parents and say, hey, this is a really big priority for me and I need your support and I need your guidance there. This will lead me on to what I'm going to be talking about next, is which a lot of young kids don't do enough of, and I personally didn't do it enough of when I was younger, was the strength and conditioning sides. Now, me having a personal training background, and now I'm a certified strength and conditioning coach as well, I think kids can start so much earlier with their athletic development, and which is why I'm transitioning a lot of my clientele from personal training, general population, to more athlete-based, because I think there's still a massive area of development, not only from a physical standpoint, but a mental and emotional standpoint as well. And that's something I think I personally will provide the most value in, is not just the strength and conditioning side, which I've had a big passion for since I was 13, but also the mental and emotional side, because as I've said in one of my previous podcasts, I've been through a lot, and I feel like I've been through a lot more than what some 28, 29, 30-year-olds have been through. That's not to say that I've been through everything in the world and that I'm not going to learn anything more, because obviously I am, but I feel like with the media publicity around my last name and having that family name in such a small city, being in Adelaide, I think that's a massive one. Obviously, being at the highest of highs, being at the Adelaide Crows, and then getting delisted 12 months later. I've been at many different football clubs. I moved away from home when I was just turned 19. I'm now living in the Gold Coast. I've been to, I think I said it before, different football clubs, different schools. I did well at school. All that sort of stuff, I think, can have so much value and impact on such a young community coming through. And as I said before, the biggest area that I lacked was not starting in the gym earlier enough. I started when I think I was around 16, and I wish I started at 12. I wish I had someone that could teach me the basics really, really well, which is what I learnt when I was in Melbourne under Christian Woodford. And I spoke about him as well, and learning the basics in the gym is so important. And that's why I dislike the way that a lot of people are educating these days, because on TikTok, for example, you're going to find someone like your Prime Train, in that he markets himself very, very well, and I can fully support that. But at the same time, I think the education side of things is lacking, because he's telling you to stop doing the basics and the fundamentals in his TikToks and his reels and that sort of thing. But when you get to his actual programming, you'll find a lot of those exercises in there, but it just puts a piece of information in a young kid's head in, I'm not allowed to do this, I have to do it this way, which is, I don't think is the right way to do it, which is why I want to educate through a longer form piece of content, which hopefully I can split up into little clips to make it engaging for young kids, and to learn the basics in the gym. That is just crucial. You need to know how to lift well. I got to the Adelaide Crows and I didn't know how to lift properly. I didn't know the fundamentals. I didn't even get taught the fundamentals at the Adelaide Crows either, because there's 45 players on a list, and for the strength and conditioning coaches to try and get around to everyone is nearly impossible. And you need that one-on-one time, which is why I highly recommend you getting a fitness coach, a strength and conditioning coach, a personal trainer that knows what they're doing, because it is crucial to set up the foundations of your career. And there are so many soft tissue injuries, there's so many ACL, so many concussion injuries that can be avoided through basic strength and conditioning programs. And having that one-on-one experience is really important. And on the back of that, which is why I mentioned it before, you're going to need your support from your parents, because as a 12, 13, 15-year-old, you don't really have the funds to be able to support yourself in that kind of way whilst you're being at school and having a sporting career and all that. So you do need that support from your parents, which is why it's important to state, these are my goals, these are my ambitions, and I need your help along the way. Because the first step, I believe, is getting in the gym, learning the basics, making sure you can move really efficiently, really well before you start loading up with weights, which I wish I did earlier, but we can only take action on what we know. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast, is because I can provide that information. And now that you know that piece of information, wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or a clip on TikTok, what you do with that information is now up to you. I didn't have that information when I was coming through, because we were always the believer of, it'll stunt your growth and we just want to develop naturally and all that, which definitely does have a benefit. But I think the benefit of nailing the basics as a 11, 12, 13-year-old kid is just as important, definitely more important than learning it at 16. And I still didn't know it at the age of 19, 20. So that is what I want to speak about today. I think there's going to be a lot more around that topic, but hopefully the biggest takeaway is to ask your parents for their support and then take action on the pieces of knowledge that you have today. And hopefully you're watching this and hopefully you can take something away and invest your time, energy, and money into someone that has your best interest at heart, which is definitely hard to find with a personal trainer and a strength and conditioning coach, because a lot of them don't know the basics themselves. So finding someone that does know that, and if you need some help with that, send me a message. I'll give you recommendations for different people in different states, because I do have a lot of connections that way. And if you're in the Gold Coast and you're wanting to start up some sport-specific football training, I am definitely willing to help you guys. Obviously, it's got to fit into your schedule. It's got to fit into mine. But reach out, send me a DM, send me a message, whatever it is, and I will continue to try and support you as much as I can. So hopefully you did get some value out of this podcast, this video. Enjoy, and at the same time, stay fearless in your pursuit of trying to be the best footballer that you can be, because there's a lot of judgment out there, and the more that you can block that out, the better that you're going to be. So stay fearless.